So Tyler, welcome to Hart Talks. I'm very pleased to have you on.
I'm excited. I'm totes excited to be here.
So I found out about Tyler through my HIV advocacy work, and his story just really spoke to me because it's different, and obviously, you know, all the people that I know that have got HIV have got it through, you know, mistakes and, you know, things like that. And Tyler's story is different. And at first it was hard for me to get my head round, but I saw how he wrote his story. And, you know, I realised that it was a lot deeper than just being somebody who wanted to have HIV. Tyler described himself as in his blog as a seeker, and I just wanted him to tell you a bit more about that. So Tyler, let us know, what is a seeker, and why did you use that term to describe yourself in your story?
So the term seeker comes from sort of like that community. It's somebody who purposely goes out and obtains HIV. Also, people will call HIV as a gift, because in a lot of people's minds, they're thinking, well, I'm going to get it eventually, so I may as well embrace it and not be afraid of it anymore. Personally, I use the word seeker because I wanted something else to die for, in a sense. I was going through a lot of emotional turmoil and mental issues that I needed something to not live for anymore. So I figured HIV was that thing that would end my life, because I didn't have the knowledge that I needed to not know that.
Yeah. And you also see in your story, Tyler, that HIV saved you. You know, it saved your life. How did it save your life?
So I started using drugs and drinking at a very early age. I was 13 when I first had my first drink of alcohol, and I drank an entire bottle of Jack Daniels by myself. From there, I moved on to prescription pills, and then hardcore drugs. At 18, I was addicted to meth and cocaine. And it sort of just stumbled down from there. And it saved my life because it made me wake up and realize, like, wait, this is not the end. This could only be the beginning. When I first got diagnosed, I really did think it was the end. I waited 6 months before I even went and saw a doctor to get my prescriptions. Before I even saw anybody to get any meds, I was like, nope, it's over, I'm over it.
Yeah.
But then when I did start to see people, and I did start to take my medications and did start to talk to doctors, I then realized, oh wait, this is not the end. There is more to life. And it sucks that it took such a dire situation for me to realize that.
Yeah. And drugs, sex and alcohol, you know, really seem to be, they were addictions for you, weren't they? You know, yep. I don't think sometimes people can fathom that sex is an addiction, you know. But
sex is absolutely an addiction.
Yeah, you know, and reading your story, I kind of was like, right, okay. And so obviously those three things were pulling you down further and further. And was it just that you thought, I'm going to get HIV anyway, so I'm not going to be careful? Was that what you were thinking?
Yes and no. So in the back of my head, I sort of had that idea. The majority of my idea, though, and the majority of my thought process was I didn't want to live in this world anymore. Like, when I tell you I went through a lot of mental health issues, it took a lot for me to come to the place that I'm at now with being so positive. But I was going through a lot of mental health issues, and I was very, very, very depressed, and I did not want to be on this earth anymore. So I associated HIV with death, and I associated HIV with AIDS. So I didn't know any better. There is a larger community than just myself, though, of seekers that do think that exact same thing of, well, I'm going to get it anyways, so I might as well get it.
So as somebody who, you know, had connected with being a seeker, is there a large community of people doing that, you know, out there, especially gay men?
It is done more regularly than society wants to admit it is. It's such an underground community that no one really acknowledges it. So when it's brought to light, you're like, what are you talking about? That's not a thing. There's people that have tattoos on them. It's a biohazard tattoo. Mm-hmm. And that's typically how you know that they were a seeker or that they've accepted the gift because they've obtained this biohazard tattoo. And that's typically what it represents. Now, everybody has different meanings, but that's the typical what it means.
I'm not sure how much of my story you know, but I was raped and became HIV positive that way. So for me, hearing your story, I was like that, whoa, how would you put yourself in that position to get HIV? But I also looked at, you really were looking to be loved, weren't you? And this is my view on it, and I could be wrong, but from somebody who came from a broken family and a messed up background myself, there's such a need for love, isn't there?
Absolutely, there is, and there's such a need of love from every community. So even just taking my own story, I was so displaced by every single community. So I identify as bisexual and I'm mixed race. I'm neither masculine nor feminine. So I wasn't straight enough for my straight friends. I wasn't gay enough for my gay friends. I was never black enough. I was never white enough. I was never mature enough. Like, I was never enough. So I found something that made me be enough. And if that meant sleeping with men, then that's what that meant. But it made me feel something.
I took a piece from your story, and it was at the end of your story when you said that you slept with somebody who had full-blown AIDS, who died the month after you slept with him. So you really were on a collision course, weren't you? There was you weren't messing around. When you found out you had HIV, what did you think?
To be honest, I didn't know what to think at the time. I sort of just blacked out. That entire next 6 months after that, I don't remember what happened. It was just another blur in life. I was like, okay, yep, this is a thing. And I was always hoping for that next day to not be there. And that's why I said when, eventually when I started to go to doctors and they were like, listen, you can still live life. And then I started to see therapists again. I was like, oh, wait, I really can live life again. And then I started to get sober, and that really helped.
I think we often look for love in the wrong places, don't we?
Absolutely.
And that can come as drink or drugs or sex or whatever it might be.
Yep.
You seem to be doing good now, so tell us what changed, what happened in your life.
So I started to put myself first, and I decided that my life was going to be mine, and I can no longer let anyone else dictate what goes on in my life. And I reduced all my drug usage. Like, I don't do drugs. I drink maybe twice a week. And now the people that I have sex with, I'm very conscious when I have sex with them. It's no longer an unconscious decision of, I'm just going to have sex with this person to have sex with them.
Yeah.
It is now a very conscious, I'm going to sleep with you because I want to. And here's my status. Here's your status. We've been tested. The main thing I can say is I put myself first, and I decided that I was going to be happy. When
you put your blog out, I read it and didn't want to make a reaction straight away because I thought I needed to think about it. But then I went back to it and saw what some people had put. So how did people accept your story?
They didn't. There's a lot of people, even people that I thought were extremely close to me, who didn't, one, understand, and two, didn't want to acknowledge my story. The term seeker and what I did is not the right choice, and I wouldn't recommend it for anybody. I don't want anyone to go out and get HIV on purpose. But it is a story that needs to be told, because I'm not the only one. I wasn't the first one to ever do it. So if we continue to shove it underneath the radar and keep shoving it in the dark, no one else is going to know.
Yeah.
And the reaction I got at first was, well, how can you say this? How can you push this message? And I'm like, but I'm pushing a message of it needs to just be said. I'm not saying it needs to happen. I'm saying this needs to be brought to light.
Yeah.
Because if it's not, it's going to continue like every other illegal substance in the world, where it's just underground and no one does anything about it until it's too late.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think that shining a light on it is something that needs to be done. Definitely. It just so happens that I love sunflowers, and I see that is your flower. So what, I saw your website and things like that. So what is that all about? Tell us about your sunflowers and things.
So I absolutely adore sunflowers. There was one day I woke up in the midst of me finding myself, and I reached my hands out to the sun, and I was like, you know what, guys, I'm a sunflower. I'm strong and independent, and sunflowers, funny enough, they're one of the only flowers that don't need another flower to grow next to them. They can grow 100% by themselves.
Okay.
And I love that about a sunflower.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a strong, independent flower.
Yeah.
2 years ago, I wanted to do something that incorporated a positive message to the world. I wanted to help shape the world, and there's not enough positivity.
Mm-hmm.
So I came up with the idea of Messages from a Sunflower, and this year is our first official launch year, where I've been passing out cards with one-line positive affirmation messages to people just throughout the day.
Yeah.
So sometimes the message is, I love you. Sometimes the message is, it's a 24-hour challenge of smile all day. Just different things.
Yeah. And I went onto your Facebook page and saw a lot of the cards. They made me feel good. I found myself smiling, and I thought that's obviously what they're meant to do. How have you come from, how do you feel you've come from where you were to where you are now? Because you could have gone a completely different way, and not be here today.
I think it's an inner strength. And I use signs a lot. Like, I'm an Aquarius.
Me too.
So I personally think that Aquarians are one of the strongest sign out of all of them.
I agree.
But to me, it was an inner strength. I had to look at myself, and I had to look at the things that I was doing in my life, and I had to make a decision. My friends were starting to leave me. My family was starting to leave me. I was starting to leave me. And at some point, I was like, I can't do this anymore. And I'd been through rehab several times and AA several times, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. Why am I giving up everything when there's so much left? And I was like, you know what? I'm not done yet. There's still so much more of the world I have left to see.
Yeah, I think the way you're doing it is different. It is not like anybody else I have ever come across, but I think that's important, because I think the fact that you're talking about mental health, you're talking about why you were a seeker, and and the things that were missing in your life, and I think it's important. I think it's it's a good thing. Well, look, I will put all your links down below. People can find you, and they can find Messages from the Sunflowers. As I say, your story is so different, and it'll be interesting to see what my viewers think and have to say about it. But you've seen, I feel that talking to you today, we've seen who you are and why you're doing what you're doing, and I think that was what I wanted to do. So thank you.